Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Izzy Howell and I'm joined by my dad Chris to talk all things video marketing. We are the father and daughter who run the video production company Howell Film, and each week we will be discussing all sorts like what happens behind the scenes on our projects, getting results from your video content, how to start using video in your business, and plenty more to come. We're always up for candidly conversing about creativity. On this episode we are discussing non-advertising films in your business.
Take a breath now. That's good.
No, I'm not done yet. So without further ado, let's get started. And of course, never miss an episode every Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Let's go. Now we can go. Where have we been? First off, where have we been? It's been 2 weeks.
Oh, well, apologies. We've been...
the listeners have been desperate.
Ludicrously busy. But there's no excuse for it, and we won't let it happen again.
And that's the podcast. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So
I really summarised that very badly in that introduction. What are we actually talking about?
What we're talking about is using film for business that isn't directly designed to market or sell. It's to do another purpose.
So why would a company or an organisation or an event or whatever use a film or commission a film to be made if it wasn't going to make them any money directly?
Well, this next line is for one of our listeners who's commented on it. It depends. Because apparently every single time anybody asks me a question, I always say it depends.
It does depend.
It does depend. No, what I would say is that a great example would be training videos.
Nice, yeah.
But then as a caveat to my earlier comment, everything you do is kind of promoting your business if anybody sees it, because it has to look and reflect and do all the right things. But if you think about it, you've got training videos that serve a purpose outside of promoting your business. You've got how-to videos, so how to put things together, how to make things work, that kind of thing.
And also because I think that's the thing about video marketing in particular. It's not like social media marketing or website marketing in that respect, that it's not a platform. It's a resource that you use on the platforms that you have at your disposal, whether that's one of those, it'd be a resource to kind of train up your staff to provide really good customer service that then makes the customer's experience better, that then makes them want a sale. So it's kind of like creates almost like a knock-on effect. So it's not the direct thing that might make you money that's important. It's what it does that triggers that domino effect further down.
Yeah. So I mean, also that there are certain things you can show in film, and also obviously with the audio as well, that instantly gets the message across. Where, so, I don't know, say you had to, say you had to explain to somebody how to wire a plug, and you're trying to say, well, you've got to kind of cut the cable down, make sure it's all nice and neat, and you got to undo the two little screws, and you got to, and actually, in reality, if you just show that, as a, then the person at the other end. Not that you need a film to teach you how to wire a plug, of course, but either way, the person at the other end can relate to it because they've got that bit of kit in their hand. They can actually follow the steps, and the main thing, you can pause it and you can go back. So I know you can reread instructions, but there's something really, really tangible and brilliant about something you can see, something that's very immediate. You can actually see it. You can relate to it, because of course the other thing as well is when something's written down, it's only your interpretation of what's been written down.
Well, how many times have you built something using a set of instructions that nearly makes you want to throw the entire thing and yourself out the window?
Some get it right, some get it less right. But again, like but I mean, that's in its very basic form. But a training, I mean, you could do a real like training series. You could If you could embark on an 8-week training course of which is all, this is quite popular at the minute, which is all video based. Virtual stuff, yeah. And you could even have, obviously you can have teachers and you can have, it's an extension of that kind of like sharing of information and that whole learning process. Video is such a brilliant tool for that.
Well, video being used internally in your business, I think, is essential, because I've worked in retail shops and stuff when I was a lot younger, and your heart would sink when they'd crack out the old VHS from the 70s that had like someone with really big hair lifting a box and putting it down safely. Like, you have to, if there are certain guidelines that your business has to follow, that your staff have to go through certain processes, they have to engage with certain materials in order to do the job, they're just as important as your customers and how they see your brand. So if you crack out a really old, dusty, irrelevant video that trains them how to do something, they might not engage with that at all. But if it shows that you care, if you produce something that's really engaging and it involves people that they can relate to and that they can enjoy, it just sets you up a little bit more professionally.
I agree. I also would also like to point out, if it was the 70s, it would probably be a Betamax, not a VHS. I think VHSs were kind of like, they sort of like overran, and you were probably into the 80s for a full VHS experience.
Oh no, it just, you'd have someone in I think it might have even been the 90s, because they'd have like one of those big baggy plain jumpers and that sort of centre parting, and they'd be lifting a heavy box and you'd have to watch them lift and put down the heavy box. And that used to just, even as a 17-year-old in a retail job, that used to make my heart sink. But you just, that little extra bit of quality does the
Agreed.
trick.
And also it's about the relevancy of it, so that if someone is giving examples, I know lifting a box is the same now as it's going to be in 10 years time or 10 years ago, but perhaps if it's something a bit more technical or something that's a bit more relevant to this day and age, a video can be that much more up to date. People can relate to it a lot more, that it's not some ancient bit of material that they can just keep reeling out. And the other thing as well is that things change legislatively, things change, just practices change, so you can deliver that far more easily in film.
And on a completely different vein, so we've talked about training videos, so they work internally in your business. What about just simply documenting something?
Well, yeah. Well, you mean in terms of what, like creating a video for the purpose of like a historical record of something you've been doing?
Lots of businesses have big milestones. They have things that happen in their business, or say maybe they're a family business that have been around for generations, or a museum or a gallery or whatever it may be, that go through quite major changes, particularly in the past few years with the pandemic. People have been making major differences in their business. And often those are documented and preserved through newspaper articles, or maybe a photo of someone holding a shovel and shaking hands. But you can take that a bit further. Imagine if, as a business, your future generations of staff and owners and whoever, even if it's your own descendants even, could watch that back and actually enjoy it and see what it was like.
You can film a board meeting. You can film any kind of sort of like perhaps a creative brainstorming session, because there might be nuanced things that you miss. There might be things that you think everyone in the room understood and everyone in the room bought into, and it might not be the case. So to actually collect that as a data, as a sort of fact finding and a data driven objective, I think is a great idea.
And we've done a lot more of that recently, haven't we? Like, that's and particularly for museums and exhibitions and anything that's only going to happen once, I think is really important. Like if you've got an exhibition that's only going to be running for 6 months or a year or whatever it may be about a certain topic, you don't want that conversation to go cold.
No, not at all.
And
it's a historical thing then, isn't it? That it can be studied. It's not just about referring back to something that happened a year ago or 5 years ago. It might be studied in 50 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because in those projects that we've been working in, they're used in the moment as well. They're put on the screens, they're enjoyed by people as the thing's happening. But having something that actually acts as a piece of history can almost essentially create a sense of longevity in your business. You're documenting something or preserving something so your future generations can carry on your business and carry it on.
Which is great as well. It's great for us because the other side of it is that video, by definition in perhaps in a social media context, has become a throwaway item, an immediate, instant throwaway item. And it's quite nice that it can be used as a long-term record-keeping tool. And that's not something that people immediately think of. People immediately think of the longevity of the written word, which is great as well. But actually, it's quite refreshing and reassuring for us that what we're producing isn't necessarily going to be watched, shared, and then chip paper is gone. It's irrelevant an hour later. It's quite nice that you're actually involved in something that's got an actual lifespan to it.
Oh yeah, and it's lovely when we've been involved, which we will be talking about in future podcast episodes, about some of the sort of conservation type filmmaking we've been doing, and documentary type filmmaking. And it's great to know that stuff that we've made is going to be viewed in however long, many years' time.
And it's fascinating as well that what's very current and very cutting edge now, it's inevitable that in 20 years' time, everyone's going to be laughing at the clothes, the haircut.
Just like I was just before.
Or it'll come round again, and I'll be trendy. Eventually, it's going to come back.
It's going to come eventually.
It's going to come eventually. What I mean is...
well, there's me. There was me just laughing about the 90s boxes before.
Oh, there you go.
That's not going to be us, is
it'll
it?
be you. It'll be you or your equivalent in 25 years' time laughing at the films that we made now. But that's great because that's progress and that shows that there's innovation. But what we should be looking for is we should be looking for the cataloguing and the record keeping not to be just a set way that it's always done. I like the idea that that video can be part of a broader topic, a broader conversation about capturing where we are now.
Yeah, because we're always at some point in a timeline, whether that's a timeline of our whole lives or if you're in one of those kind of generational businesses that have been around since the 1500s or whatever, you're only just a part of that timeline. And it's almost there's a responsibility to preserve that. But so we've got training videos, we've got kind of documentary style videos, but what's your opinion on, does this class as non-marketing, the concept of just making content for social media or for YouTube with the intention not of it necessarily going viral, but just people enjoying it for the sake of it? It doesn't necessarily try and sell, but it just
in a business context or in
if you're a business and say you're a garden centre or a shop or a cafe and you just start putting videos out of showing people how to cook recipes or how to grow something, or that's not necessarily selling, but
but if you enjoy it and it's a positive thing and it's bringing joy to somebody else, then great, do it. But from a business perspective, if you spend, I can't see how you could justify employing somebody specifically to make films that no one's going to watch just for fun. You'd question the kind of like the fiscal point of that.
Oh, gotcha, absolutely. But as insofar as, say, for example, you did have a how-to series about how to grow your own tomatoes or something.
That's a great example because how to grow your own tomatoes is always going to be relevant. It hasn't got a shelf life really. So I think that's a great idea. I think that
because you're not necessarily going on saying buy these for $5.99.
Well, that's a great example as well of like a garden centre is a perfect example for a vehicle for film, because in reality, the things that they keep having to explain to people what to do when you buy a pot plant or a packet of seeds or whatever it is, you can actually what you could do, we could suggest this to maybe our garden centre customers. You could have a QR code on some packaging, you blip it, and you get a full film explaining what to do with the thing you've bought.
And that does solidify my point, because what I guess where I was ending up or trying to get to was the concept that film doesn't necessarily have to come before the sale in order for it to be marketing. Because if you do have something that, if your video does essentially provide aftercare for a customer, that means that you're considering their experience beyond just them paying you money. So when they've done that and they've enjoyed something after the experience of being in your shop or your garden centre or whatever it may be, they then have something that they can remember that will make them want to come back because they remember that experience.
Well, you're keeping them warm, aren't you? Essentially, you have that hot moment where they've bought something in a retail environment, and they walk away, your key thing there is to keep them warm, keep them engaged, keep you and your organization in their mind somewhere. So that's a great example. I mean, it applies to, if you start thinking about it, it could apply to ingredients, to cookery, garden centers, growing, anything that involves you doing something with the thing you've bought.
Well, absolutely, because I know I'm biased because I work in video, so that normally has an impact on how I experience things, and I tend to lean more towards companies and things that do have that. But obviously, I use like a meal subscription service that I cook recipes from and everything, and they send you recipe cards, but I do sometimes think, actually, if I watch someone putting this together, because there are words that, I don't know, like fry up this for 2 to 3 minutes, but I don't know what it'll look like after 2 to 3 minutes. It'd be good to see
Pitch it as an idea. Go on, just get in there, get it. Well, the other thing as well is you think about, you could use it as like a life-saving tool as well. Imagine if we've got a defibrillator machine on the outside of our office here. Imagine if you open the door and a film started playing, telling you what to do.
Just hopefully with no adverts beforehand.
No adverts before. But there's all sorts of things, like you could use it as anything that's instantaneously, that's not open to interpretation. Anything that you need to get an immediate message across. Video is a great way of doing that without the adverts.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
skip for 5 seconds out. But I think that's the thing. It's there's always an impetus for businesses to think, if we're going to get a video, it has to sell, right? Like explicitly right from off the bat. But remember, I said this in a presentation that I did a couple of months ago, because I'm just going to drop that in there subtly, is that...
What, do you do presentations?
I do, actually. Presentations and workshops. But what I was saying then is that while we're in our business heads and we're at work and our focus is to sell, we then go home, take our makeup off, take our suits off and get into bed and put on a YouTube video, and then immediately be waiting for that 5 seconds to go down so we can skip that advert. We're just as human as all of our customers. No one likes to actively be sold to when they're trying to get to watch what they actually want to watch. So by going for that hard sell right from the start of your video doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to sit through that 15-second advert you put on YouTube, because everyone waits for that 5 seconds to run down.
Well, not everyone, because sometimes it's just through professional curiosity, I do actually quite enjoy the adverts.
Oh, well, you're the only person I've met.
Only so far, as I often think, I'm quite interested as to how they're obviously put together, just through sort of professional interest. However, I find it very interesting as to what they target me with. So when I'm watching, Bus Grease Monkey replacing the brake discs on a 1958
You're giving away how you spend your Sunday nights now.
Bus. No, what I mean is, it's quite interesting to see what and how they target advertising specifically to me and my habits. I find that quite intriguing, really.
I only get food adverts, so I don't know what they're trying to tell me. It's just fast food all the time.
Because you're involved in a food subscription service.
That is true. That's true. And that's the thing. I think that when we're in this world where, as a consumer, when we are as normal people at home on social media, when we're looking for holidays to go on and we're just using the internet for anything other than work, we're aware more than ever that we're always being sold to all the time, and that cookies allow cookies all the time. And I think actually it serves companies well to have something that isn't directly doing the hard sell, because it stands out from the crowd then in that respect.
I mean, here's a question for you then. Would you ever buy and pay for video content?
Well, as someone who works in a video production company, because I would think
what
that's
I mean
cheeky.
is, so you say you're watching YouTube, okay?
Yeah.
Imagine something you're really interested in, and you start watching it, and it says, okay, to learn the other bit you don't know, you got to pay us. Would you pay for it?
If it was genuinely essential to something I needed to know, then yes, because I do dip into Skillshare more than YouTube. And Skillshare is something that I've discovered that obviously has been around for a long time, and I'm very late to the party that I've just discovered it myself. But as someone who has a massive focus on the need for skill building internally in the business rather than outsourcing everywhere across the world, I like learning. I love learning stuff. Like you'll just watch stuff and learn how things work, and that we both are like that. And I think that for me, if it was something that would genuinely make me do a better job, I would invest in it, because I think that there's almost an expectation now that you can get a lot of information for free. You can get it all on YouTube and get it all on, I don't know, Google. But sometimes, obviously, because I work in the industry, I know how important it is to have good quality and how that extra bit of good quality and that extra time spent on something can just make the experience better. If I know that if I pay that extra bit of money and it unlocks something that maybe the rest of my competitors or people I know would not pay for, I know that I'm almost like a step ahead then, because there will only be a minority of people that might be willing to pay for that. So therefore, maybe I'm in more of an exclusive club than other people. I'm not just firing off onto YouTube and seeing what's
Agreed.
out there.
Well, and also often, generally speaking, if you've paid for something, it's guaranteed to be legitimate, or generally speaking. Whereas, you've got to be careful on YouTube that, particularly if you're looking for, I don't know, using electrics as an example. I want to do something clever with this bit of electrical gubbins, and you've got some like 11-year-old in Philadelphia saying, plug this into there, plug that into there, and plug that into there, and you do, and you burn your bloody house down. I think there's a reality that you've got to, if you're paying for information, generally speaking, it's qualified and is going to be legit.
Well, I'm a person who, for all the knitters out there, as someone who knits, I'm really... You've given away that you like spark plugs and brake discs. I like knitting. And as someone who knits and someone who enjoys that kind of crafting thing, is that I have the choice between buying a knitting pattern versus getting one for free. And that always gets me a little bit, because I think, why am I paying for something that I have to buy and make myself? Like, I'm paying for the instructions.
You're paying for the instructions. You're paying for
the
information.
I pay for the
knowledge.
patterns.
You're paying for the knowledge.
Yeah, and those can go up to almost like £20-30 at a time. And they're just they're just a PDF that tell you how to make the product. So sometimes I do have that gnawing feeling of, I might just get this for free rather than paying for that. Because if I pay 30 quid for a pattern and then I make it terribly, then it might not have reflected it. But I do think of video though. I tend to go on YouTube, I tend to go on Skillshare and find people who help you make along with it and stuff. And that is more engaging for me. But the concept of buying things that help me make something myself, it always blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah. But I suppose but then the more you make, the cheaper the pattern becomes. If you made 300 jumpers and the pattern costs you 30 quid, then that's actually quite good value. If you make one, then it's really expensive.
I'm going to stick to the one. I think I'm not making 300 jumpers.
Or do your own patterns.
Yeah, but see, that's hard. So you do almost, you're buying
knowledge.
You're buying knowledge. And that is something that I've struggled with, but I mean, let us know if other industries and other things, you have to do that. We've gone off message now. I'm just starting talking about knitting patterns.
We've gone off message.
I never thought we would get here.
Video, so let's get back on track.
Non-promotional video.
Video as a non-promotional tool is brilliant, and innovative businesses and individuals are really starting to see the value in it doing other stuff other than just promoting what you do.
Absolutely. And I always end with a question for you. And it's been
that was quite a serious episode.
That was a very serious episode.
We just have not messed around at all.
No, I know.
Okay,
so give me a time. This is not really a question. It's more of asking you for an anecdote. Give me a time where you reading instructions have gone horribly wrong. Reading instructions, I mean.
Reading instructions. I once put a flat pack furniture together inside out. Where the really nice finish was on the inside, and the sort of horrible sort of plasticky thing was on. I actually built the whole thing inside out.
You know why I'm laughing? It's because we are definitely father and daughter, because I did the same thing.
Well, there you go.
I've put an IKEA shelf together completely backwards, so all the brown bits of the MDF were showing.
Oh, yes,
So I was making the bookshelf, and then where there's like that clean white edge, it was all rough, scratchy, take your nails off MDF on the other side.
So there you go. So we both buy from this popular Swedish furniture brand, and their instructions, generally speaking, are really good.
Yeah, but I'm taking it way back to one more point, which is that with how-to videos, you can use them across different countries then.
You can,
If you didn't show necessarily someone speaking, you can have different voiceovers for different countries, and then you can take your product internationally.
Yeah.
But hopefully don't show them how to make it inside out.
I think there's also that kind of like learning from experience and it's like anything, isn't it? If you don't know, you don't know. People go, "Oh, that's so simple. That question's so simple," or that. If you don't know, it's not simple, is it?
Well, just think about the time where me and my fiance tried to work out your heating, and we accidentally made it.
Well, I had the bloody heating on permanently for the next 6 months. Couldn't turn the damn thing off.
It would only come on. We set it by accident, so it would only come on at 1 a.m. every night.
And it'll stay on for 14 hours.
So instructions can sometimes require an extra bit of visual help. So non-advertising or non-marketing sort of based videos in your business can make a difference, and we've done a lot of them. So they are very much around. So if you haven't sort of invested in that or thought about that yourself, go on.
And it doesn't have to be exciting to be cool. You can make a really interesting, helpful video that's not blow your mind, wow, that's incredible, but it might save your life. Getting back to the electrics, but it actually just might be just really thoroughly useful.
Well, as we've shown, there are people out there who will be wanting to watch it. Someone out there will want to. Whether it's someone wanting to learn about brake discs on a Sunday night, or if it's someone who wants to know how to knit and purl a certain way, got people who are interested.
That's how interesting we are.
Yeah, we've just summarised how exciting we are in a podcast. Right, okay, so that was it for today. We will obviously be a bit more prompt with our podcasting in future. Please give us a follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast, or you can listen to our podcast on www.howellfilm.co.uk. Please give us a review if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, and if you have a question you want us to answer or you want to be on the show yourself, just let us know. We're always up for having guests on to chat to us. You can find us also at Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. So we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.